All right, so I'm not going to take you today through whose fault was it. Doesn't matter. This thing is cooked, and we need to just start looking at what they're going to do moving forward. No need for finger pointing. I'll tell you why here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That is right. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. You can find us on our Locked On Jaguars YouTube page. If you watch podcasts, if you listen or hear them, then wherever you do that, make sure you check in each and every day to make sure that you don't miss an episode of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. That's right. I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about today, man. And it's just going to keep it real. This is called Keep It Real. Keep it real, Jaguars. That's what it is. There's no more of this trying to figure out what's going on because it does not matter. It's all on Shad. That's where we're going to end up. And I'm not saying everything in the past is ultimately it is his fault. But what I'm talking about is it's on him to do the right thing by the future of this team. Who can be moved and for what? Yeah, I'm talking about selling some pieces, things that anyone would look at this team and say, this is not conducive of them being able to move forward with this at that cost and have it be successful. And then the stop of the show, we're not going to bury the lead. There's just no time for finger pointing at this stage. Got to let you know before we keep moving, though, that today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And let's do that. Let's just get started right here at the very top for the Jacksonville Jaguars, losing yesterday 28-23 to Philadelphia. We can get caught up in the fact that they were shorthanded, that certain groups like the offensive line actually had a pretty decent showing against the team that has a very, very talented defensive front. We can talk about their character and how they fought and they came back in the second half and how they didn't shrink in the moment, right? When things were going bad, one of the things that they have a tendency of doing and have had a tendency of doing it when things have gone bad is they let it continue to steamroll and they let it continue to build. It's just momentum just keeps building in the wrong direction. Well, they stopped that yesterday. They found a way at halftime to make adjustments, and they found a way to get more on the ball, get some tempo going, get aggressive. Trevor looked really, really good. The play calling seemed like it was working. They were very opportunistic and they made and created some situations on defense, and then got themselves back into a game where they were down 22-0. It looked like they were going to get their socks blown off. They had the ball with a chance to win it inside the 20-yard line at the end of the game, and all they needed was a touchdown. So just a remarkable ebb and flow to the game yesterday in Philadelphia. Now that I've taken you on that little bit of a roller coaster ride, let me tell you, this is where you tell the conductor to let you off. Don't you go looking for positives in this game yesterday. I just mentioned them, and those are good things. And those are admirable things for those guys. I hope, though, that the person that finds those things to be admirable is Shad Khan and the future GM and the future head coach of this team. And that would mean that the two that are over there holding those positions are no longer there. Don't you get caught up into that. And I hope Shad doesn't. I really, really hope he does not get caught up in, well, I see positives and I see growth. And maybe we just need to change directions just a little bit. You know, we ought to get sick of letting people out of the car and keeping other people in the car. You've been on a trip, man, and it's been an up and down ride. There have been good times. There have been bad times. But the bottom line is you look up, you spend a bunch of money, and you are not at your destination. You're nowhere near it. The Jaguars have to, instead of always just sitting here looking at these little positives, some of these things are things that they're supposed to do. The problem is they don't do them consistently enough to win. You have to do that stuff week after week, and it has to be ingrained into your DNA. And it's not here in Jacksonville. It just isn't. So all the positives you can point out, you know, if you really take a step back and you're one of those people that are doing that, just think about what you're doing. You're intoxicating yourself with a moral victory. Remind yourself of this. They lost yesterday. And was it a winnable game? And was it one person's fault? Or was it an errant pass? Or was it they were rushing to try to, you see how we start to, you know, it's like this bacteria eating disease or parasite. You start eating at your own logic when you start thinking like that. Well, why didn't they just slow down and take their time? What makes you think that an offense that has been as inept and as inconsistent as Jacksonville's offense, playing without a couple of their top players, with a new left tackle, what makes you think slowing down is going to help them? And what I'm talking about is yesterday, the score, they were down 28-23. They needed a touchdown to win. Philly still had timeouts. There was about 2 minutes, and then it got to like a minute and 40 some odd seconds, and it seems like the Jaguars were trying to score. And fans actually got upset. And I understand if you're talking about, the New England Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs or even the Baltimore Ravens, somebody that's always consistently good, right? I'm talking about, you know, of course, the Patriots in the dynasty days, where you can sit here and nitpick when you're going to score. The Jaguars can't afford to nitpick anything. What had got them back into the game, and if you pay attention to it, Doug Peterson, I'm going to give credit when credit is right. Doug Peterson said going into halftime that maybe we need to be on the ball. And what that means is get in and out of that huddle real quick, get some tempo going, and play faster. Basically, they're playing 2-minute offense, and that's exactly what they did when they realized they were going to run out of time and they started rushing, just like in the Green Bay game last week. What did you see? Bip, 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 moving the ball down the field. So now when they get in this situation where everybody wants them, okay, don't score too fast. What do you mean don't score too fast? You better be asking them to score and then just hope the defense does what they can do. You don't do that. And the Eagles had just missed a long field goal, which means they could have missed another one. And they were without A.J. Brown. At some point, you know, you can't let that misery start eating away at your own logic and not realize what you're saying. You're saying that the Jaguars should have just slowed down and run the clock off and been more deliberate about scoring. This is a team that can't score no points. This is a team that had 30 some odd yards at halftime, and then they finally found a rhythm. So you want them to break that rhythm just so they can make – that's like subbing your defensive line in and out of the games, hoping that they're fresh at the end, but you're down by 28 when the end of the game comes. That doesn't make sense. It makes sense to good teams. It doesn't make sense to teams that don't get it and don't understand and aren't used to winning. Whatever they are doing, please let them do it. I remember one of my little cousins, all he ate was one thing, like French fries or something. He didn't want anything else. He was a nitpicky little kid. You know what the doctor said? Give him French fries. It's better than him starving. Try to make him eat the other stuff, but if he doesn't, if you got to go give him some French fries every day, give him French fries until he grows out of it. You can't let him starve. They got to do whatever. Doug Peters was over there. Let him eat. Just go score. We'll figure the other stuff out. This is a team that never scores points, that always bogs down in the red zone. And y'all actually want them to slow down against the Philadelphia. I just don't understand it. But this is the kind of finger pointing that I want everybody to stop worrying about. And I don't know why I just spent 2 minutes on it, but I think I just had to. But the bottom line is, don't worry about it. Let them figure out different ways to keep losing. Maybe this is what Shad needs to finally feel this ain't working. I'll tell you why they need to move some people, and I'll tell you why I'll tell Trent thank you at the end of the year, and I'll tell Doug thank you. I'll get to that here in just a second on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful income with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. And today's show is also brought to you and sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is where the real money action is, man. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You can just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season on Prize Picks. Listen, all you got to do, man, is just try to match it up. You can figure out who's going to get how many yards and who's going to do what. They have the projections right there set. It's not you against all of those millions of people. It's just you against Prize Picks. Make sure you go on over to Prize Picks, download the app, and get started today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, running it down here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. The Jaguars fall to 2-7 after a 28-23 loss to Philadelphia, where they played rather valiantly. They played valiantly at stretches in a lot of games this year. You can look back at all of the games, and you can look back at Miami and how they should have won that one. You can, maybe the Buffalo game was just where they got whipsawed, and then Chicago, they really didn't look good in that one. But the rest of these games, man, there was an opportunity for Jacksonville to win and do something, but it just didn't happen. And I can't even tell you it didn't happen for the same reason, or that it did happen for the same reason. I don't believe that any of the losses all looked alike. But I do believe if you look at it, if you take a step back and macro it, they kind of all did look alike. It looked like a dysfunctional football team that did not play consistently the same way throughout the game. The one thing that has looked alike is you constantly seeing your defensive lineman getting run in and out of the game. And for me, I would love for somebody, I haven't done it, but I would love to see a snap count and to see if this is as egregious as it feels. It just feels like, I don't even know if the number of snaps from backups is the big deal more than when they're in the game. I hate to see those dudes in there, and this ain't nothing against them, but when a team is driving and it's a critical third down or they're inside the red zone, I kind of want to see the dude you paid a whole bunch of, the $100 million guy, and then the dude that's the first round draft pick, first overall pick. I kind of want to see him on the field. I don't look at other teams, and I don't look at Pittsburgh, and then when they get into these critical situations and TJ Watt's not in the game. I don't look at Cleveland in these situations and Myles Garrett isn't in the game. I don't look around at the league, and I don't look at the Rams and see that Jared Verse and Braden Fisk aren't in the game. I mean, it just, to me, you're almost doing yourself a disservice when you do that. But that's another one of those things. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let it be what it is. Right now, the Jaguars, the trade deadline is in a couple of days. What should they do? They shouldn't trade for anyone. In fact, they probably should start considering whether or not they're going to unload some people, and it's going to be unpopular. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if they do, who some of those people should be. And I'll go as far as to say whether or not I believe they should or shouldn't move certain folks. I start in the running back situation. Travis Etienne, let him go. I think he needs a fresh start. This isn't me just falling out of favor with a dude and saying, just throw him to the scrap heap. We're sick of him. I don't want him here anymore. No, it's not that. What it is let him go. Period, point blank. Get something. 4th round pick. He's got another year on this contract. Did you wait too late? Is Dallas now to the point where they're so out of it, they ain't trying to trade for no running back? Find a team that needs someone like him that's close to the playoffs or just needs that last boost. I wouldn't give him up for nothing less than a fourth. But at this point, or you can pull a Balky and you can sit there and wait for compensatory picks that'll come in a couple of years when he goes somewhere else. You can play that game. That game's a little bit overrated, and I have talked to GMs about that, or not GM, one GM, but I talked to two former GMs about it, and they were like, hey, look, you can play that game all day. The bottom line is just get good players. And then you might be able to move. You might be able to pull a Kansas City and get something for L'Jarius Sneed, knowing you got dudes on your roster just as good and you're going to pay them less money. That's how this game is really won. That's what you do. You could argue that Tank Bigsby is just as good or better than Travis Etienne. You can also make the counter argument that you need two of them. But Etienne's under contract for one more season. I would arm the new GM with as many draft picks as I can. And I don't know if I make them 2025 draft picks since everyone's talking about how weak this draft is. Maybe people are on to something when they're trading for those 2026 picks. Remember, the thought process is you don't have to fix everything in 1 year. You don't have to dump everything either. I would tell Trent Baalke to go ahead and just do what you would do if you were going to take this job and you would want this job. And you can't marry yourself to these players. Evan Engram is another dude. I think you can get a good value for Evan Engram down the stretch from a playoff team. He still has another year in his contract that could be reworked. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you'll get a third. You might get another fourth. Right? And I know it sounds like I'm selling these guys short. Andre Cisco, they ain't going to keep Andre Cisco. I don't think they are anyway. I don't see anything to indicate that they're going to keep him or that a new regime would keep him unless it's on some kind of prove it deal, but he wouldn't do that. Find out if there's value or fit somewhere else right now for Andre Cisco. Devin Lloyd played better yesterday, but moving forward, I want Ventrell Miller on the field with Foye Oluokun. I don't want a linebacker out there just because he's a former first-round pick. And I know there are people that are saying, well, you got to use him at edge. Even if you use him at edge, he still ain't starting. Get something for him. Maybe he's a better fit somewhere else. And you can get a late day 3 or an early day 3 or a late day 2 or early day 3 pick. That sounds like another 4th or 5th round or some conditional pick. It ain't really, I don't know how much this helps the cap. I just armed the next situation with as many of those draft picks. I think you're going to need some labor. I hate to say it like that, but you're going to need some players that aren't costing you a whole bunch of money to have them on the field. I don't think you can move Walker Little at this point. I really don't. Here's why I'll say I think Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson took over this team at a bad time. And maybe he was just the guy to get them from that point to where they are now or where they were last year. But now they're just underachieving and it's really, really hurting them in a bad spot. But here's why I would give Trent Baalke his walking papers, but I'd say thank you. I'd say thank you because you do have Trevor Lawrence, which was really a no-brainer pick. You can argue whether he's worth the money or not. With the way the quarterback landscape is going, I think you've seen enough to put something around him, put better structure around him, maybe take a little bit off of him, and that will work. You got a real good tackle in, I believe, in Anton Harrison. I think he's better than what we've seen. I just think the people around him make it seem like it's worse, and I think he also probably needs new coaching. You got a number 1 receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. Tank Bigsby's a good back who's still under contract in a rookie deal. You got 2 good edges in Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. They played well yesterday. You got a good leader in Foye Oluokun and another young player in Ventrell Miller. You have a corner who you paid market value for that he would have gotten that everywhere else, and that's Tyson Campbell, who's also a nice, very good sized physical cornerback, right? So you got some things here. And even when the new GM takes over, or if that happens, you'll have some stuff to work with. They need a lot, though. They need a lot. They need another receiver, all right? They need a dual threat tight end, not one guy that does one thing and another guy that does another thing. They need at least 3 offensive linemen, in my opinion. At least 3. They need another defensive tackle, even though they do got 2 young tackles. I didn't mention that could get you through. Neither one of them are game breakers. The 2 kids out of LSU, but and Devon Hamilton either. But they got enough there. They need some edge depth. They need at least 2 or 3 people in the secondary. So the cupboard is not totally bare. You can touch a few of those things or a couple of those things in free agency, and then use all of those draft picks to try to fortify your roster, and then upgrade with scheme and different coaches and a different philosophy. It's all on Shad. Will he do it or won't he do it? Sound like a preacher when I say that. I'll tell you my take on that in segment number 3 here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Hillsdale College. Man, it's never too late for you to get your knowledge on. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. I know you might have studied these things in high school and didn't pay attention, but it's never too late. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning of the history of the Constitution. I think that's appropriate right now. Even an introduction to free market economics. All of these things can be used by everyone. I'm telling you right now, man, I am so interested in that, all of those things, and brand new documentary style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in whenever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/locked-on to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/locked-on to register. HILLSDALE.edu/locked-on. And today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Our friends over at FanDuel, they're the absolute truth, man, because they're America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, just $5, and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. No longer all of that flipping and refreshing. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, moving along here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. We talked a lot about why all the finger pointing and figuring out why they won or why they lost. We need to just let that go and just understand that it is what it is at this point. They need to move people, maybe, and get some assets. Yeah, I probably would go ahead and move Travis Etienne, and I probably would move Evan Engram. I know that's going to be unpopular to a lot of people, but at this point, they're 2-7. They were 2-7 before they made a run for the playoffs. Good luck. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're not making the playoffs this year. They're just not. And I know that's not breaking news to a whole bunch of people, but to some people that might be weak, you're giving up. No, I'm being realistic. They're not. And if they do, it's just going to suck you in again with some more fool's gold if they did make it, because that'd be 3 years in a row that they played that way. That you saw the absolute best and the absolute worst all in one season. And that would give me an indication that that's what I'm going to always see with this team. You just, this dumping of the cargo, this trying to get another chef to fix another chef's mess. I want the entire kitchen cleaned out. We're going to start over with new ingredients. We may carry some stuff over that's still perishable. We're going to keep it all. We're going to keep the main thing, man. This thing is broken. Like, it's not totally like like there's nothing there. I'm not going to say they didn't do anything the last few years. They did do some things. But the things that they did, everything isn't incomplete. It's nothing is totally done. It's like everything still has potential. It's not what they were brought in here to do. They were brought in here to get this thing from one thing to another and then over the hump. They got it from one thing because when they took over this team, well, I say they, Trent Baalke was a part of the mess in the first place. But like what Shad always does, he never makes a total disconnect from anything. He always just keeps a little piece of it, right? This ain't no photo album, man. Cut those dudes off. Just, thank you, but it's time for us to do something else. Got a new stadium that's gonna be built. There's no better time than to do that right now. New blood from the top to the bottom. And hopefully you get it right this time. But there are some good people, there's some good candidates out there that's going to do this thing, and they're going to do it nice and slow, and they're going to do it the right way. And the process shouldn't be that long. Look at Washington. In 1 year, look at what they've done. They had a top 3 pick last year. They're like 7-2. Oh, and they changed. Yeah, they got some new pieces and got a new quarterback. But they also got a new coach and they got a new GM and they got new energy in that building. They got new accountability and new things that people can't get away with, as opposed to the cesspool that it was before that. Now, at no point am I saying that the Jaguars organization has anything scandalous like what happened up in Washington. The Jaguars have had some stuff. They had a dude stealing $22 million, and they had a few other things. Dudes tripping on planes, apparently, allegedly. But it's the ineptness. It's the energy that comes along with folks in the building that come to work because they have to, on time, and do exactly what they're supposed to do, or people that will come early and do backflips and be happy to run through a brick wall for you. And I am not just talking about players. It's all of it. And if you let that little virus just keep being in the building, you're gonna always, and you can't see it, so you're always gonna know it's there, and you're always gonna point and be like, what is it? Whose fault is it? And generally, the person whose fault it really is, or the person who is at most fault, let me say that, because I don't think this is a one-person thing. The person who is at most fault is sitting back like a little witch doctor and sitting there pointing at everything else and trying to control narratives so that it doesn't look like it's them. In this case, it may be Trent, it may not be, but I tell you what, Shad, this is how you do this. I'm letting all of it go. I ain't talking about the support staff and people in operations. I'm talking about the football people. GMs, scouts, staff, all of it, coaches. Redo the whole program. Strength and conditioning, redo the whole thing. Start it all over. Start it all over. You don't believe it? Look at Washington and look at Detroit. They started it all over. And they're reaping the benefits from that. We got to be patient and we got to do things the right way. And Shad has to have the ability to know that he's capable of doing things the right way. Sometimes you don't need to be a person that has had a lot of success in football. You can have a lot of failure. Has he learned from it? You have to learn from your failures. And one of the failures is failure to totally start over again. Please, whatever you do, start this thing over. You can start your day every morning with Locked On NFL. Tyler Rowland, the madman, wakes you up with a double shot of espresso of NFL stuff that you get with him and the local experts. And then slide on back through with the second show on Locked On NFL with me at the barbershop. I'll do the same thing, man. We just do it a little different, but it's still the same thing. It's a double dose of NFL action on the new Locked On NFL, on the Locked On NFL page, and wherever you get your podcast. Man, y'all take care. We'll be back tomorrow. Of course, we'll listen to all the pressures and If anything comes out about any trades, we will definitely let you know. Take care.